Welcome. Welcome to another afternoon here at MSK Innovations. I'm your host, TJ Halverson. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great event lined up for you. Before we introduce our panel, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's event, the DeAngelis Group, leading executive search firm in the musculoskeletal industry. Today, we have three companies presenting: Hyprevention, SutureTech, and Garland Surgical. On our panel, we have Robin Young, Chris Lyons, and Chance Leonard joining us. Gentlemen, would you each take a moment to provide a quick introduction? We'll start with you, Robin.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. Yes, I'm the former publisher of Orthopedics This Week. Before that, I was 25 years on Wall Street at Piper Jaffray and Stevens, helped start the Health Point Capital private equity fund, and then decided I really wanted more fun in my life. So I decided to start a publication, which became the largest in our sector. And Drew DeAngelis is now the owner and publisher. And it is my great honor and pleasure to work with him and TJ and do fun stuff like this, which is actually the best part of my week is meeting entrepreneurs and hearing about their ideas.
Thanks for joining us, Robin. We'll lead it off with you, Chris Lyons. Quick intro.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. It's good to see everyone. I'm Chris. I've been in the industry 36 years, born and raised in Memphis. Thereby, I went to Richards, started there in '89. I had to throw out Richards. It's never a name that's going to die. And then from there, went through Smith & Nephew for about 15 years or so. In 2005, went over to Medtronic Spine. I ran the M&A division there from 2008 until 2018, and then I stepped out, started my own consulting firm on the sell side of M&A, and so that's what we do.
Wonderful. Last but not least, Chance Leonard.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for having me. Enjoy this time, as everyone mentioned, as a panelist. This is my 31st year in the medical device space, and had successful tenures previously with skeletal dynamics and Stanmore implants and Zimmer trauma and Synthes trauma. So currently the chief executive officer of Genesis Innovation Group, and our goal is to bring about commercialization products through the development side of the business and help entrepreneurs to achieve their ultimate goals. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Chance. Now, before we get started, just a reminder, MSK Innovations, we are not a broker-dealer nor an investment advisor. This is for informational purposes and not investment advice. Conduct your own due diligence prior to making an investment. Now, today, leading us off, we will have Cécile Vienney at Hyprevention. Cécile, look forward to having you present.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to present Hyprevention. My name is Cécile Vienney. I'm the CEO and founder at Hyprevention. I established this company 15 years ago in order to develop the STRUTPLASTY Technology. Before that, so actually I'm a mechanical engineer by background, and I spent 10 years at Stryker Spine, where I developed many spine products with spine surgeons from the US and from Europe. Then I joined Vexim, a French startup, to develop the SpineJack, a device to treat vertebral fractures. And after 2 years, I left to establish my own company. And so we developed the STRUTPLASTY technology with the objective to reinforce the bone weakened by osteoporosis or cancer. So this is our field of expertise. Next slide, please. So what we want to address with the STRUTPLASTY technology is the issue of vertebral fractures that are mainly due to osteoporosis or cancer. There is in the US about 750,000 vertebral fractures each year. Most of them are due to osteoporosis, 75%, 20% are due to cancer. So the targeted population is people older than 60 years old. All of them can apply to Medicare. And today on the market with the current treatment, there is still 10% of subsequent fracture post-treatment, There is still 25% of adjacent fracture within the 6 months after the treatment, and there is about 64% of untreated pedicle fracture, pedicle involvement. So we have developed the V-Strut. We call it, our device, the V-Strut transpedicular implant. It's an implant made of PIC polymer. It's introduced posteriorly, so through the pedicles, and go up to the anterior wall in the vertebral body. And the purpose of this device is really to reinforce the entire vertebrae, so to treat the fracture in the body, to reinforce the pedicle when there is an involvement. And thanks to the PIC polymer, we absorb the stress in a way that we prevent subsequent fracture at the treated level and adjacent fracture at the superior and inferior level. And this PIC polymer implant is combined with PMMA bone cement in order to fix the fracture in the vertebral body. We received 2 510(k), and the product is patented as well. So today we have clinical data able to show that this product is superior to our competitors. So our main competitors are the Spanjack, acquired by Stryker in 2018. This is also an implant to treat vertebral fracture, but only the fracture in the vertebral body. And the other main competitor, it's kyphoplasty with a balloon intended to treat the vertebral body fracture. So the company carrying the kyphoplasty, it's Medtronic, Stryker, Merit Medical, many of them. And today we have clinical data, as I said, showing that with the V-Strut, we did not have any subsequent fracture. Our adjacent fracture adjacent fracture rate is really low compared to a Spanjack or kyphoplasty. And it's even better than if the patient has no treatment. So we are at less than 5% adjacent fracture. And as I explained, thanks to the pedicular anchorage of the V-Strut, we are unique providing the treatment and the reinforcement of the pedicle fracture. So today we have our product approved in more than 20 hospitals in the country. And we are also approved at the VA hospital at the federal level, at the VA in San Diego at the local level. We target hospital as customer because of the CPT code that is much more profitable in terms of payment in the hospital compared to ASC or OBL. Our users are mainly interventional radiologists, interventional pain physicians, and neurosurgeons. Actually, our users are the one performing kyphoplasty. So today we are a very small sales team of 2 people. So my business development manager based in Dallas and myself. And we are raising money. So we have the support also of independent sales agents. And our objective is to increase the sales team from 1 to 7 or 10 business development manager in order to have a growth for this product. So we can show that we have market traction. We have cumulative sales of almost $1 million. We really have a nice curve showing that each year we increase our sales, and our objective is to build a team in order to reach 25 million in revenue. So the company, now the company is American since 2024. Hyprevention Inc. is incorporated in Delaware. So in the US, we manage the marketing, the sales, and the post-market clinical studies because we spend our time to collect data in order to publish. And we also have now a subsidiary in France. Initially, it was the headquarters. And in France, we manage the R&D, quality and regulatory, and the production. Most of the manufacturing is done in Europe, but we also work on having partners in the US. The company is compliant with the FDA regulation and is also certified ISO. And to support the team, we have a marketing advisor, Catherine. Catherine has an experience with Vertiflex. She was a director of marketing at Vertiflex, acquired by Boston Scientific. And we also have a medical advisory board with Dr. Khan in Johns Hopkins and Dr. DeLacy at Mount Sinai in New York. So today we are raising our Series A for 10 million, as I said, to develop the sales team in order to reach 25 million in revenue, to complete post-market retrospective study in order to apply to CMS to have an additional reimbursement for our product in addition to the CPT code we use as our competitors, and also to support the marketing activities, customer training, and the manufacturing of the product we need to sell. We plan for an exit by acquisition, and we have preliminary discussion with potential buyers. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for your presentation. We'll open it up for some questions from the panel.
Well, I'll start. This terrific presentation. I'm really excited about the product. It looks terrific, and the way that you're documenting the reduced fracture rate and the reduced adjacent level rate is, I think, really powerful information. My question is, what are the reasons for those fracture rates with the existing systems and the adjacent rates with the existing systems, and how does your system change that?
So our approach is very different than what has been done up to now. So our approach is to really preserve the bone as much as we can and use a material that is able to absorb the stress instead of having something too stiff that will lead that the implant will never break, but the bone will break around the implant. So we really talk about osteoporotic bone. So addressing the osteoporotic bone, it was important to select a material able to absorb the stress. So this is the first thing, the selection of the material. Secondly, we don't create a big cavity. When you use a balloon, the first thing you do is you destroy the bone that is fractured. So our approach is to preserve the bone as much as we can. So creating a cavity for our implant only, and reinforcing the pedicles. This is also something new. And finally, we have made finite element analysis to understand what should be the best quantity of cement to combine with our device to limit the stress. And it come up with 4 cc bone cement in a lumbar vertebrae is enough. So compared to our competitors, we put a small quantity of cement. And the objective is that the cement interdigitate in the bone structure instead of destroying the bone and filling the cavity. So it's a different approach to reinforce the bone, taking into account the biomechanics of the osteoporotic bone. And for cancer, it's a bit different. For cancer, it really makes sense because in metastasis, very often there is a pedicle involvement. You have no more pedicle, so having this implant allows to reconstruct the pedicle that is severely damaged by the bone metastasis.
All right. Terrific answer. Thanks a lot. I'll pass it on to Chris or Chance.
Yeah, Cecile, I was going to ask real quick, did you say 4 cc's of cement?
Yes, only
Okay.
4 cc's, yes. 2 in each implant, yes.
So, okay, 2 per implant, got you.
And this is the maximum, and thanks to this technique, we no longer have cement leakage. We only have 13% of cement leakage. And the reason is when you want to put more cement, the cement has to go somewhere. So the first thing is you create a cement leakage.
Right.
So with our technique, we have a very low rate of cement leakage.
Is the material unique to you guys, or is it in common use?
No. PIC material is used. Yes, it's PIC. Yes, in cages. I use this material during my entire life developing products.
Yes, exactly. What is so the question I have, the main question I have is, what is the surgical technique relative to being able to put this in? And if you're going to use the pedicle pathways, is there any way in the future to use those same pedicle pathways in case you need a fusion?
Yeah. So the surgical approach is very basic. Everything is straightforward. So we position a trocar to define the axis of the implant. We have recommendation on the positioning of the implant. We recommend that it's positioned between the superior and inferior end plate, and the implant is as long as possible close to the anterior wall in order to take the advantage of the material. We provide different sizes, different diameters and lengths to adapt to the size of the pedicle. So you position a trocar, a guide wire, then we position a protection tube for the soft tissue. When we drill, we measure the size of the implant, you implant the device, you do the same on the other side. And when the two implants are in place, you inject the bone cement and then you release the implants. So after a learning curve, it takes about 18 minutes. Our best users perform the procedure in 18 minutes, but anybody can do it in 30 minutes. So it's very easy and straightforward, and nothing can happen because it's everything in the same axis. So compared to the span jack where you have to deploy something, if you don't start deploying in the right direction, it's a problem. So with this, it's very idiot-proof. And for revision, so this question very often come from a spine surgeon, never from interventional radiologists because they don't do the revision. But when you ask the spine surgeon, have you ever performed a revision on kyphoplasty or spine jack? They say, no, never. Removing the device itself. So I work with an orthopedic surgeon at Texas Back Institute to develop the revision technique because it was asked by the FDA, of course, and it's part of our surgical technique. So the idea is that you will never remove the implant or the level. You will never put a screw in the level you want that needs revision. You will put a screws above and below, and if needed, you will do a corpectomy and position something. And as its peak is very close to the normal bone, so you can cut the peak as you cut the bone.
It's a great answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cécile. Great information and great questions from the panelists. I guess maybe I'll kind of turn to what your ultimate outcome is. And I appreciate that you put this in your slide. You said you want to create an acquisition by a certain time. So it looked like, at least from your slide deck here, that if you hire up to 7 more of your business development directors, I'm just curious about the commercialization side. What are their responsibilities? Are they attending the procedures? Are they actually doing the education program for the procedures? Who's calling on these surgeons, and how are they, growing this?
Yeah. So the role and the main role of these people will be to be the hunters. So really to find the new users and to develop a network of users and animate a network. And then we will keep having our independent sales agent to attend the cases. So it's important we go. Yesterday, I was in a case at Mount Sinai. I don't go every time, but it's important to show up and to meet the doctors. But so we will keep the independent sales agent to really attend the cases, and we will have the business developers to develop the business, develop the network, and yes, they can do the training. They have to know everything I know about the product to be able to explain what it is about, why, and what is the benefit, and etc.
Yeah.
So it's
the value
the business territory manager. Yeah.
What is your average ASP per case?
It's about 4,500 in hospitals, and it's 7,000 at VA.
Okay.
Terrific. Now, do we have time for more questions? But I know we have 2 more.
Do we have time for one more?
I don't have another. I've got a lot more, so I shouldn't even go with 1, because if I go with 1, I've got 10. So all I want to say is I really appreciate the thought that went into this, and I can see the biomechanics behind it. And just, one of the smartest things I've seen in a long time. And I love that what you're doing is you're cutting down these reoperations, which is so important. So that's it. I'm done.
Thank you very much. We also have a device for the hip with the same approach, but it's not ready for the market yet.
Well, wait. This is too much for me. I feel my heart is palpitating.
Wonderful. Well, Cécile, thanks so much. It was a great presentation. Thanks for the questions from the panel. Let's move on to our next presentation with Dr. Anakwenze at SutureTech. Hey everyone, TJ Halverson here. Did you know that a mediocre hire can cost your MSK company over $1 million? While other recruiters coach candidates to say what you want to hear, we find leaders that actually deliver. The DeAngelis Group has over 25 years of transparent executive search. So de-risk your next hire by contacting us at orthospinesearch.com. Now back to the pitch.
Well, great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to present here at MSK Innovation. My name is Ole Anakwenze. I'm the CEO, founder of SutureTech. I'm also a professor of orthopedics and chief of shoulder surgery at Duke. So SutureTech was founded based on my personal struggles as a young surgeon, fixing a lot of rotator cuff tears. I saw a lot of patients like this lady on the left who came in with a lot of pain, would spend a lot of time in the OR, and unfortunately, a high number of them will still have re-tears that we have accepted in orthopedics. In addition, we are struggling with inefficiency, which has become a big problem over the last couple of years. So our mission is to tackle the problem of tendon re-tears and operative inefficiency by using the world's first all-suture soft tissue repair staple. Tendon ligament injuries are a big problem in the US and abroad, $40 billion spent annually, a significant number of surgeries with a high growth rate. Unfortunately, there's still a high incidence of tendon re-tears and rotator cuff, for example. This is between 30 and 70%. This is in part due to operative time and inefficiency, as well as the current traditional implants on the market. Cost is important, and this has been highlighted in the area of value-based care, and means to reduce time in the OR is of paramount importance now. How do we solve this? Well, meet the RapidFix. The RapidFix is the world's first all-suture staple made for tendon ligament repairs, not just tendon, but tendon and ligaments all across the body. Our patent-protected implant, which is also 510K pending, is set to decrease the operative time by at least 50%. It's stronger than commercially available anchors. And also, we produce a novel way to repair tendons. If you look on the right here, you see the traditional ways tendons are repaired. You make multiple holes, anchors in there, you pass a bunch of sutures from the bottom up. We've suggested a way for you to come from the top down. You basically staple the tendon back down to the bone and let the body do what it wants to do to heal. Now, this technique as well, you have versatility and options that you never had before with other implants, in addition to superior biomechanics that has been proven in published literature. Our efficiency is I think, world leading. We have a 3-step process to repair tendons. You simply awl the tendon into the bone. You leave your guide in there. You take it all out. You insert your RapidFix, deploy your RapidFix, and then you're done. We have compared our implant to most of the other competitors, and we compare very favorably in terms of pull-out force and cyclical loading. This was a quick animation I was going to show about how it works, but I don't think it's as important. Let's talk about efficiency for a second. You know, we certainly cannot control the anesthesia time, intubation time, but what we can control is the operative time. We believe we can cut down the operative time by at least 50% because we're cutting down the operative steps by over 70%. And all in, this amounts to about a 33% increase in efficiency for the average rotator cuff, which allows a surgeon to potentially do more cases in a day if they want to, produces more financial resources for the operative center. You know, in summary, as far as value propositions, we propose multiple value propositions. We improve efficiency. Why is it important to improve efficiency? Poor efficiency leads to patient complications, increased costs, fewer surgeries being done. We also provide better repairs. What are some of the causes of re-tears that we know? Excessive pressure, tendon pressure, poor tissue to bone contact, prolonged surgery, gap formation, the many other reasons for re-tears. And with the RapidFix, based on how it's made, we tackle these problems. We provided a solution for all the key players. We wanted to take everyone into account. The patients see less time under anesthesia. The surgeon is more efficient. They can do more cases. The surgical center is more efficient. They can make more money. And perhaps the insurance companies with fewer reoperations do not have to pay exorbitant prices for revision surgery. We're in a very large market. This is a $7.2 billion market globally and significantly growing rapidly at a 9% growth rate. Our target market is a $1.3 billion market, primarily based in the US. We feel like we can penetrate these markets because with the RapidFix, with very minimal iterations, we can go after multiple body parts. Our FDA application was submitted with indication for just soft tissue repair in general, not specific to the shoulder. The shoulder is a very great market. It's a beachhead market. It's what I do for a living. I know it very well. 1.3 million shoulder soft tissue repairs done annually, and many more in other body parts. How do we compare to the main competitors out there? Everyone does have a soft tissue repair device. You need to have that. We have what we think is the most efficient soft tissue repair device. It's a 3-step process. We have the world's first all suture staple. We've used staples in orthopedics for over a century, but this is the first time it's been made with suture. And we pair very well with the biologics. Biologics are hot in orthopedics and growing rapidly. Most companies don't have a good way of fixing their biologic scaffold. We have a way to fix biologic scaffold regardless of the company that's making it. As a matter of fact, we have a lab upcoming in October with one of the major scaffold manufacturers to test our product with their scaffold. Finally, it's a novel scalable technology that could be modified in different ways. From a business model, pricing, we feel like we're fairly competitive with the market. Our ASP that we anticipate after negotiations in the surgical center will be around $600. Our cost of goods sold at scale will be $85 to $100. We're going to work through third-party sales and distribution channels, many of which we've already identified for the limited market release. We're going to use a targeted regional approach initially, focused on the Southeast, which happens to have the most number of rotator cuff repairs. Obviously, if a surgeon outside of the Southeast really wants to use it and they're a high volume user, we'll accommodate that surgeon, find ways to get that surgeon on board. Marketing will continue our KOL engagement, social media engagement, exhibitions and research, which is an important part of what we're trying to do. And we're going to find important synergies that we can work with within the market. As an example, the biologic scaffold market. In terms of traction and proof of concept, how do we know we have something that's worthwhile? We have a growing team of surgeons that are signed up for our limited market release. These are both private practice and academic surgeons of in different institutions that bring unique things to our limited market release. We're already exhibiting. This was our first exhibit a few weeks ago. It was very well received. We had surgeons from the conference in Nashville agree to use the product, and some have actually invested since then. We've done many cadaveric lab demonstrations over the years with a lot of KOLs in the field who have validated our points. We have good testimonials from leaders in the field about the RapidFix and how they feel they can use it in their practice and what it brings to the practice that they don't currently have. Our team is relatively lean. We're very proud of the fact we've come this far in about $1.1 million. I'm the CEO founder. We have a sales and distribution manager who's going to help us with our limited market release, a VP of a vice president of finance, and a fractional CFO. We're looking to build this team further as we get into commercialization. We do have a lot of advisors. I understand that I am a surgeon. That's my primary job. I've made it a point to surround myself with very smart people. We have clinical advisors. We have on the right side very, very seasoned commercial advisors that have been very pivotal in helping us get to this point, and will play an even bigger part as we go forward. We're very proud to be part of the MedTech Innovator Accelerator Company. This is one of the most competitive accelerators in the world. We're one of the top 65 out of 1,500 companies that applied. Through this accelerator, we have access to multiple advisors, and I have advisors from the big strategics, finance advisors, value advisors, regulatory advisors that I meet with regularly to discuss our pathway forward. In terms of our financial projections and assumptions, we anticipate a very a slow start on purpose. You know, we know some companies may want to hit the ground and hit the ground running and blow the market up, but we want to understand our product first. We want to see how it works. We understand the value. We also want to understand more about the messaging. So we're going to do a controlled limited market release in perhaps starting in December of 2025 and likely extending to June or July of 2026. Anticipating that we might have to iterate the product a little bit to get it perfected if we have to. And then 2027 is when we see a significant effort in terms of our commercialization. We're currently doing a $3 million safe note round and a $60 million post-money valuation. We think this is a very ripe market. On the left are some of the recent comparables. We know that we are not a biologic, but we certainly play very well in this market. So we believe that with our revenue target, which we've set at 10 million, 10 to 50 million, that we will be very attractive, even though we're already having conversations with two strategics about what it is we're trying to do. And that's it. And, you know, again, we have multiple reimbursable codes for the RapidFix already. We don't have a reimbursement problem. We're set to go right out the gate. Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. All right,
Really
we'll
good.
to panelists.
Let me jump in real quick. Very good job. Really good. I love the approach relative to coming top down. I think that's very smart. Is the packaging of the whole system, is it one kit or is it a separate implant? Is it like preloaded, or do you have to load it onto the instruments? Just some things, the initial observation.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It comes preloaded. I think we want to make this as easy as possible, so it comes preloaded. For the limited market release, everything is going to come in one kit. That's the instrumentation of the implant. We have plans to break it up so that you would have a kit that has the instruments with one implant at a slightly higher price point, and then you can buy individual RapidFixes at the price point that I listed. But everything is going to come pre-assembled for the surgeon.
Okay. I know Dr. Gall very well, and the time that we've spent, and he's done some amazing things in a short period of time, relatively speaking. But the thing that, the thing that I like about what you're doing is that it is more of a unique solution being all suture. I'm honestly don't know if I've seen that before, because in the realm of staple technologies, staples are staples, right? And so I like the approach. The one of the question I had for you was, it looked like you would be 13 million pre-money, correct?
That's correct. Correct.
Okay, cool.
That's correct.
With that, how much of that is going to need to be allocated for the further buildup of the, we'll call it operational structure, the internal structure of the business, the QMS systems, you know, all the stuff?
Yeah, we think about a third or so of that will go into operations, building out our system, our supply chain, obviously inventory, and a team to manage the operations as well. So about 30% will go into that. We think that 3 million will get us through about an 18-month runway, at which point we'll be ready for a Series A.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for all the answers.
Thank you.
Great presentation, sir. I really enjoyed it. As somebody that's actually had a rotator cuff repair, I can validate that nobody talks about the potential ramifications, complications of re-tears afterwards. My surgeon never told me those numbers, but I do have a quick question, because I understand that, you know, most of these tears are kind of in three different, in a sense, shapes. As you start out this endeavor, and it seems to me that you're kind of focusing on probably the easiest of the three with this, or can you actually do all of the all of the indications with your device?
Yeah, that's such a great question. It's a great question. I think that for the limited market release, what we will advise our surgeons to do is just to pick small and medium-sized tears, perhaps in patients younger than 70 with good bone. I think it will work for medium and large tears. We have made it so that the dimensions of this is 6 millimeters. We know the dimensions of the graded tuberosity is about 24 millimeters. So we've assessed that we'll need about 4 to go from A to P. If you do have a certain type of tear, like what they call a large crescent that needs medial convergence, like this might not be the case for that. I anticipate that this will be used or available to use for probably 80% of the tears, but not necessarily all the tears, but a very large percent. But initially, we will start with small or medium-sized tears. As long as you can bring the tendon to the bone, to the tuberosity, to the insertion site, you should be able to use this.
Yeah, excellent. And then I really appreciated the aggressive, growth ramp in revenue. I was just curious about, I think you had the number of units. How many surgeon users is there going to require for you to be able to reach that threshold each of those years?
I think the good thing about this is it's such a large market that we don't feel like we really need to penetrate the market very deeply to get that adoption. We also know that each surgery will probably use at least 2 of the products or more. And also we anticipate, like when we talk about 2027 and 28, penetrating other markets mildly. The main market is still the shoulder surgery market, but by 27, 28, we should be in the ankle space as well. So, we're talking about 7,000 or so units being sold by 2028. And it's a large number. But we know, we look at the multiples for early growth companies. We've done the assessment of our market, knowing how many shoulder surgeons live in our market. So we've been actually very conservative, but I think it's going to take a significant push, significant lift, and significant help to get there.
Is there any change in, I'll be the last question for me today, but is there any change from the surgeon's perspective of how they've previously done this versus what they're doing now with the staple system?
Yeah, I've been working on this for about 9 years, and over the years, there's always been an engineer or something who would sort of try to take me off that path. But the path was always that you don't want to change the surgeon's technique that much. You don't want to change the ecosystem. You don't want them to have to reposition a different way. You want them to be able to use the same incisions. So the overall surgical encounter will not change. This is such an easy device to use, but you would have to probably, play with it and test it out a little bit the first time around. But the ecosystem won't change.
Excellent.
Sounds great. Real quick, that $600 ASP, how does that compare to the products you hope to replace?
It's competitive. I think if you look at the market research, you will see that, the anchors range from, $100 to $1,250. I don't think they're when they state that, they're accounting for negotiations. The average price for most of these anchors will end up being somewhere between $450, $400, and $650 for some of the premium brands out there. We anticipate that, especially initially, we will have to negotiate lower to get into the hospital, especially the surgical centers. The hospitals will accept a higher price. So this is not going to be our list price. Our list price will be $1,250 for the hospitals, the VAs, but the freestanding surgical centers, we do anticipate, especially early, that we might have to negotiate down to the $400 range initially. But we're more concerned about users and feedback initially than revenue.
Yes. Well, I think the explicit promise you're making is that you can cut the re-tear rate by, call it 30-35%. I think it's going to be essential you find a proof point for that assertion.
Absolutely.
How many patients have you treated so far? Have you got any re-tears so far? And on that re-tear rate, is that out 1 year, 2 years? How quick do you get that re-tear? But the big question, though, is how are you going to develop that proof point?
Yeah, I think we have a current pretty extensive evidence generation plan. That's what we need to do. We need to generate evidence. We're doing biomechanical studies and testing with Bill Walsh, who's a big biomechanical engineer in Australia, working with Ty Lee at Creighton University. We're about to submit an SBIR NIH grant this Friday to do some cadaveric research. We're making plans to do some sheep studies. That's a quick sort of way to get a sense of looking at histology and looking at healing. But clinical studies, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I was going to make a smart. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but we're going to start collecting data right away. But it would take, the simple truth is it will take at least 2 years to sort of prove that out clinically in humans. For the rotator cuff space, typically 1 year follow-up, what is needed. Go on, please. Sorry.
Yeah, real quick, because we're going to move on. But I think on your pricing, if you're in the middle of the pack, don't go low, stay where you are. Your sales. So there's two things. There's a hygiene factor and a motivating factor. Your hygiene is just be in the middle in the pricing and don't negotiate that. But your motivating factor, I do believe, will be that retail rate. So if you can get some solid data on the retailers, that'll be what gets you into the surgery.
Mhm.
I think, not the pricing. Pricing, be firm, but hammer away the retail rate because they'll make money if you cut the retail rate.
Dr. Anakwenze, I had a real quick question. I know we're getting short on time, but when does the sheep study begin? I'm curious.
We are currently in the early stages of that discussion. My hope is that we can get it started in Q2 of next year.
Okay.
We're just currently sort of formulating a plan. We're talking to the folks at Colorado State, which is where a lot of these studies are done, and trying to sort of figure out the best way to get at it.
Because that will definitely be telltale. No doubt.
Yeah.
All right.
Great. Well, thanks, Dr. Anakwenze. That was awesome presentation. I really appreciate it. And we'll move on to our final presentation of the night with Simon at Garland Surgical.
Yeah, hi, thanks TJ, and welcome everyone. So I'd like to start by thanking you for the opportunity to present our device, the MaltaHip, to you. And Garland Surgical has a very clear vision, which is to support patients of all ages and backgrounds whilst empowering true movement without compromise. I'm Simon Mifsud, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Garland Surgical Limited, and I'm excited to share how this MaltaHip will transform the lives of the modern hip replacement patient. So globally, 40 million people suffer from hip arthritis, and each year there are approximately 2 million hip replacements in a market worth about $8 billion. And with an aging population and more active lifestyles, demand for a durable, high-performing implant has never been higher. And recently, we've seen some products launched into the market. But current solutions are far from perfect, with up to 10% of hip implants failing globally within the first 12 months, and 40% of them failing within 25 years. Now, with each revision surgery costing about $80,000 US, the global revision spend has reached about $20 billion. And this cycle imposes not just a financial risk, but also a significant human cost. So our mission is very straightforward: deliver movement without compromise for every patient. Every age, MaltaHip is the hip for life, a university spin out working to redefine that patient experience. MaltaHip provides mobility with stability. Patients can regain their quality of life, moving freely and living fully without the fear of dislocation. And if eventually we were able to, let's say, half revision rates, MaltaHip would offer the first true lifetime hip with the potential to save over $200 million annually and cut healthcare carbon footprint by 10,000 tons of CO2 every year, which is significant. So our patented triaxial cylindrical bearing design delivers unmatched stability, which we've proven out in various cadaveric studies, even at really extreme joint angles. A greater range of motion for active patients, and 75% less wear than leading products, just because of the unique geometry of our articulating surfaces. And that's been proven out at an ISO-rated facility in Germany. It's a universal fit with global IP protection granted, designed for all ages, genders, and ethnicities. And our goal is to achieve an implant with a 50-year lifespan. And there you can see the different articulations of the device as they individually articulate, and then there's a compound movement where they all articulate independently of each other. So initially, we're going to be targeting the world's highest value markets, the US and selected European countries, with a focus on working with the most innovative surgeons and higher demand patient groups. And our path reaches that sort of $8 billion addressable market, expanding into other regions via a licensing model. And that allows us to operate a capital-light, scalable model, out-licensing to an established orthopedic OEM and leveraging their distribution sales channels and manufacturing muscle. Revenue coming from upfront fees per region and ongoing royalties. And these strategic partnerships we see will streamline our regulatory and commercial rollout as the product is taken on board. So the hip replacement market has benefited from the long-standing expertise and innovation of leading companies, and it's actually considered to be one of the success stories of modern orthopedics. Major incumbents like Stryker, Zimmer Biomet, J&J, Smith & Nephew have helped millions of people with established volume-focused solutions based on the classic ball and socket design. But as patient lifestyles and expectations have evolved, there are new opportunities, and they're emerging to enhance implant performance and longevity. And the MaltaHip builds on this strong foundation by introducing this new, novel, triaxial design that really advances stability beyond anything that could be imagined, extends the range of motion, and delivers exceptional long-term durability, as I mentioned, because of its unique articulating surfaces. And our technology is meant to complement and expand on what's already available, but setting a new benchmark for patient outcomes while respecting and building upon the progress made by industry leaders. So in the last 3 years, we've achieved some fairly significant momentum. We've raised over $4.3 million secured from various grants and investment from VCs and angel investors. We've held several breakthrough cadaveric validation labs in Malta and in the UK, and we've developed a robust network of industry and academic partners. And our regulatory progress is ongoing with an FDA pre-submission under our belt and key certification work well underway. And leading experts have already praised the MaltaHip as the next generation in hip replacement, and industry partners like Orchid Orthopedic Solutions have validated our approach to this product. So we're raising $4.5 million in a seed round, which closes actually at the end of this month, and that enables vital milestones to be achieved. And we've already secured $3 million of that money, and all that money will be used to develop an advanced robotic stability testing platform, achieve our final design freeze, and progress the regulatory submission, verification, and validation projects that we need to do. We'll also achieve our ISO 13485 quality certification and expand the team. And every pound that we spend is tied to clear inflection points and market readiness for our US launch. So this round essentially bridges us to the final product development, initiating those V&V testing and regulatory breakthroughs, with our Series A opening early next year. A path to our commercialization includes clinical studies in the US and the EU, and completion of our regulatory clearances in both those territories. With a lucrative licensing deal in an $8 billion market, this is a timely, high-impact investment at what is a tipping point in our valuation, ensuring a strong return on any investment made. The team we've assembled so far brings over 90 years of medtech experience. I myself have 35 of those years, and we have R&D, scale, and exit experience. And we have a vast advisory board who are deeply connected and embedded across the orthopedic landscape. So we feel we're fully equipped to execute on our vision and deliver the MaltaHip, which is the hip for life. So just in closing, the MaltaHip, we believe, is redefining what hip replacement means for patients and providers. With your investment, we can set a new global clinical standard, delivering measurable improvements for patients and generating outstanding returns. And we'd like to ask you to join us as we deliver the hip for life. And if this has resonated with you and you'd like to find out more, please connect with me. My LinkedIn QR code's on the screen. I'm happy to take any questions now. I do have John Chapman, our CTO, and Donald Darley, our principal development engineer, and actually one of the inventors here sat with me, should there need to be any answers from them. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Simon. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
I think you're on mute, Chris.
Thank you. If you're able to pull this off, it would be nice to see something that shifts this commoditized market, because all of us are very sleepy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No, look, this is the most novel thing in large joints in what, 30 years? I'm not kidding. I mean,
Yeah.
this is fun. Now there's a lot between here and, making the sale, but
Yep.
this is the most fun new hip I think I've seen in a long time. I mean, this is novel. This is very novel.
And to that point, Simon, my question would be this: when we think about a component today, we think about the stem. Give us the names of what the different things are, because you've got another implant in the mix here that gives you that ability to move within a movement.
So what we've done is we've separated out the degrees of freedom. So we start with what we would probably call the femoral component. Femoral head. So I don't know whether you can see that.
Yeah.
So that's a cylinder, and we call that the abductor, and that controls adduction, abduction. Okay. And then that clicks into something that we call, maybe I can get rid of this this background here so that we can do this. We have something called a rotator, which controls external and internal rotation.
Okay.
And that works separately as well. Let's have a look. See, so that's that one.
Yeah,
We've got this one, and we've got this one, and then we've got flexion and extension. Okay, which again has been separated out. But when you combine the two, they all work independently of each other.
Yeah.
And we're using the cylindrical bearing surface, which actually spreads the load better. And we're using a linear articulation. So the linear articulation not only creates something called stress hardening or work hardening, it makes the polyethylene more resistant to wear. So when we did this accelerated wear testing, they weren't able to actually measure any wear particles, which is amazing. It's unprecedented. So
because it's cobalt chrome against ultra high molecular weight poly.
So actually, our device at the moment is utilizing stainless steel.
Okay.
So nothing fancy is required to achieve this, and we're using highly cross-linked vitamin E enriched polyethylene.
Now, you're coming into a very well-established market. It's very novel, but to move people off their current products, particularly the relationships with the current companies, you got to shift that cost value curve up. I mean, you got to move at least one good standard deviation. So can you talk a bit about, is this going to cost the same? And for the cost, how much more value, and what would you define as being the value it delivers?
There's a list of things that I could list as the value. And with regards to cost, because we're utilizing the very latest state-of-the-art manufacturing, including 3D printing at scale, direct compression molding, etc., we feel we can make this at a cost that allows us to have a price point similar to the current state-of-the-art. And there is a way that we could consider making an economic version, if you like, for countries where pricing isn't going to be a massive issue. So that's the first thing. In terms of the cost benefit that you refer to, so there's a few things that we need to consider. So one of the things that this device does is it increases massively the stability of the joint postoperatively. So it is actually almost impossible to dislocate this device, even though it's semi-constrained. It's not fully constrained because of the interlocking nature of the cylinders. In the same way that a regular, even a dual mobility modular dual mobility state-of-the-art device dislocates. And we also, as a result of that, could see a reduction in returns to the OR to reduce these dislocations.
Mm-hmm.
The wear aspect, we think this reduces wear particles by several orders of magnitude, not just one. We only need one order of magnitude to double the lifespan of a hip replacement. So we're conservatively estimating that the articulating surface could last for 50 plus years. We don't know. I mean, that's just unheard of. And all of this is
may not make it.
All of this is backed by first principle engineering, which is, in its simplest form. So nothing complex here. Simple engineering solution to what is a fairly important, procedure in most people's lives.
Yeah.
So we're very excited by this, and we're not alone. All of our partners, even the FDA, who we recently engaged with in a Q-Sub, have called this a product that they live to work with. They're very excited. I mean, we are generating a lot of excitement by this device. We want to de-risk it before we take it to market. We want to do a thorough job, and that's why we've engaged with the FDA early on, so that we can all understand what we need to do to get it across the line. But there is a clear path to a regulatory clearance here. So yeah, we're very excited. We just need your cash in order to be able to deliver on this. So that's obviously today.
Don't be shy.
I'm not shy.
Simon, I really appreciate the ingenuity and the simplification of the process that you are speaking about here. I think the biggest problem I look at it is how do you move this needle? Because you may have something that is a tremendously better product, but if you can't get it contracted and you can't get it approved, you can't get it used. And I think 68% of the global market is controlled by 8 companies of the global market, right? And so you're talking about a product, and to Robin's point about the value proposition. How do you create? It's great if you can have a knee or a hip last that long, or any device in a sense last that long, but the patient may wear out before your actual device does. Right.
Yeah.
And so how are you going to, in a sense, penetrate a U.S. market that is controlled, by specific companies? And maybe the strategy is making friends with them instead of making enemies.
We're not planning on making any enemies just yet. I think one of the things that we have to do is obviously prove this out. And we plan initially to do this through a strategic alliance, a licensing. This is a well-proven path that's been trodden many times by small disruptive companies such as ourselves. There are a number of what I call tier 2 strategics out there that do not have a dual mobility at the moment and would love to get their hands on something that can take something away from those top 5 companies. So I don't think there's going to be any shortage of people interested in talking to us once we've got that regulatory pathway mapped out clearly and this thing de-risked. We're working with some really amazing advisors, that are guiding us very, very carefully along the way. We've got a stellar team. I mean, I have to say that is allowing us to do things in months that would take a large organization, 3 years. We've even got a revision. We've even got a revision system version of this that I haven't spoken about, but will probably feature in my Series A presentation when I go out and start talking to those people who might be interested in investing in our Series A. Right now, I'm trying to concentrate on closing off this seed round. We're sort of 2/3 of the way there. We're having some interesting conversations. We've set a strict endpoint of the end of this month to try and close out so that we can, as a group, refocus and start to focus on what's required to raise that big sort of 10 million pound, whatever, 13 million dollar amount that we need to get us across the regulatory line. I've no doubt in our team's ability to deliver this.
Is it the same expectation of instruments and instrument trays, or are you able to influence that just because all the mechanics are truly in the freaking implant?
So the surgical technique is very, very similar. The approaches are the standard approaches. We've tried it in the cadaveric lab with full specimen bodies with all the different approaches. There will need to be some nuanced instruments for the different approaches. We need to orientate this correctly. So there's going to be an orientation device instrument, but that's not that unsimilar to what's available and required at the moment. We've even got kind of assisted and robotic surgery in mind for this, and we see no reason why it couldn't be done. In fact, possibly the precision maybe that you'd get with a robotic surgery, I don't know whether that would be better or not. I don't know. I'm not convinced one way or the other at the moment. But all of these innovations in terms of putting these devices into patients, we're taking into consideration. So this shouldn't take a surgeon any longer than that would to do any other hip replacement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great.
Any other questions?
I've got one question that I'll bring in from the chat, and this is asking, are there specific outcome measures and endpoints that you have planned to collect in the clinical study? Or is that to be determined?
It is a little bit to be determined, if I can be honest. And we're a few months away from writing that that protocol, but we have engaged with the FDA. They've been very clear that they recognize this as being novel, which we knew anyway. I mean, everybody on this call can see that it's novel, so we can't hide. But this device works very much in the same way as a regular hip replacement. It's the articulating surfaces and the mechanics, the biomechanics that are slightly different. So we're going to make sure it meets all of the required ISO standards, but we've already agreed with the FDA that some of those standards probably need to be a little bit beefed up. So we're going to work with the FDA, in fact, to develop those protocols to make sure that they're happy in terms of the safety and efficacy that this device brings to the market when it passes its clearance. So right now, that's to be determined, but rest assured, we're working very proactively with our advisors and now the FDA to make sure that this meets all of the requirements before it goes in humans.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you, Simon. Great presentation. Thank you to all the presenters and panelists for just a wonderful event. And please reach out to the presenters if you have any questions, or to myself or Drew at MSK Innovations. We look forward to our next event. We have October 1st with 3 great more companies. Have a wonderful rest of the night. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, TJ.
Hi, everyone.
Great job.
Thank you, everybody.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.